Did you know that 99% of people follow financial patterns that keep them trapped in poverty, while the 1% do something completely different? The secret to escaping poverty is not winning the lottery or inheriting a fortune, but in small changes that anyone can start making today. In this video, you will discover how to change your mindset, habits, and actions to reverse this reality. No matter where you are starting from, with the right strategies, you can take the first steps to building wealth and achieving financial freedom that once seemed impossible. Let's start by understanding the problem. Today, millions of people are struggling financially, living paycheck to paycheck, with no savings or plans for the future. Maybe you can relate to this reality. You work tirelessly, but the money never seems to be enough. And why does this happen? It's not a lack of effort or ability. Often, it's the result of a combination of factors: a lack of financial education, an environment that reinforces negative habits, and the persistent idea that this is just the way life is. But here's the truth: you don't have to accept it. Many people, just like you, have faced these barriers and managed to turn them into springboards for success. In this video, I'll share the steps that can get you out of the stagnation zone and put you on the right path to financial freedom. Now that we understand the problem, it's time to talk about the solutions. Throughout this video, we'll explore the key factors that set the 1% of people apart from the rest of the population who manage to escape poverty. We'll discuss crucial topics like the mindset needed to break free from limitations, the importance of financial education, how to plan your finances in a practical way, and even how to deal with systems that seem to be stacked against you. Each of these strategies is an essential step toward achieving a more stable financial life and, who knows, even prosperity. So stick with me, because what comes next could be the turning point you've been waiting for. If you look around you, you will notice that many remain trapped in poverty not only because of a lack of money, but mainly because of a limiting mindset. This mindset, formed by negative beliefs and thoughts, acts as an invisible but extremely powerful barrier. Phrases such as "money is for rich people," "I wasn't born for this," or "those who try only get frustrated" are common examples of how thinking shapes reality. These ideas are often learned in childhood and reinforced by people close to us, creating a cycle of beliefs that limit the potential for financial growth. What does the 1% do differently? They see possibilities where others see barriers. Instead of thinking "I can't," they ask "how can I?" This simple change in perspective opens doors to new opportunities and creative solutions. For example, while many avoid talking about money, those who break these barriers seek to understand how it works. They realize that money is not something to fear or reject, but a tool that can be learned, used, and multiplied. So how can you change your mindset? Start by analyzing your thoughts and identifying limiting beliefs. Replace them with positive, actionable affirmations. For example, instead of saying, "I can't save," say, "I can find ways to save, even if it's just a little each month." Understand that changing your mindset is the first and most important step in transforming your financial life. It's the key to opening your mind to new possibilities and ultimately starting to act differently. After all, you can't achieve what you don't believe is possible. Now that we understand the importance of an empowered mindset, the next question arises: how does financial literacy, or rather, the lack thereof, directly influence our ability to thrive? The truth is that financial literacy is the foundation on which the 1% build their wealth. Without it, it's like trying to navigate a minefield of debt and aimless spending. Unfortunately, most people have never learned the basics of finance. This is no coincidence. The education system rarely teaches about investing, compounding, or how to budget. As a result, many live without understanding how money really works. For example, did you know that saving money in a regular account, without investing, causes you to lose purchasing power over time due to inflation? Or that investing in something like index funds can multiply your wealth, even if you start with small amounts? These are crucial pieces of information that could change lives, but remain inaccessible to many. And here's what the 1% know: knowledge is power. They take the time to learn about finances, whether by reading books, watching educational videos, or consulting financial mentors. They understand that every dollar can be a worker that generates more wealth, if well applied. So, How do you start to educate yourself financially? The first step is to seek information. There are thousands of free resources on the internet today, such as simple guides on budgeting, investing, and planning. The next step is to put into practice what you have learned, no matter how small the beginning. Make it a habit to track your expenses and identify where you can save. Financial education is not an exclusive privilege of the 1%. It is a path available to anyone willing to take the first step. It may seem small at first, but it is a journey that builds financial security and opens doors to greater opportunities. Remember, the knowledge you acquire today can change the course of your life forever. Even with a strengthened mindset and basic financial education, many people still face a powerful but often invisible obstacle: the environment around them. The influence of the environment we live in, the people we associate with, and the habits we ingrain is stronger than we imagine. Imagine trying to change your financial reality while surrounded by people who perpetuate negative thoughts or harmful habits. Comments like "there's no point in trying, we'll never get out of this," or "enjoy life now, saving is silly" act as anchors that keep you in the same place. The environment is not limited to just the people. It also includes the physical, cultural, and social conditions around you. Living in an area where access to opportunities is limited, or growing up in a family that never learned about financial planning, can reinforce cycles of poverty and prevent positive change. Now, what do the 1% do differently? They are intentional about who they associate with and where they invest their time. They surround themselves with people who inspire, challenge, and motivate them to grow. They know that to achieve extraordinary results, it is necessary to leave their comfort zone, and often, that means breaking out of environments that limit them. Inspiring examples are everywhere. Think of stories of people who have changed their lives by reaching out to new influences. A young person who grew up in a disadvantaged neighborhood might excel by connecting with mentors or groups focused on personal and professional growth. Exchanging an unmotivated social circle for an environment where goals and ambitions are encouraged can be the catalyst for profound transformation. But how can you put this into practice? Start by examining your routine and the people around you. What habits or conversations are helping or hindering your progress? Consider seeking out support groups, online communities, or even local events where you can meet like-minded individuals. Environment is a powerful force, but you don't have to be a victim of it. With effort and determination, you can create an environment that is conducive to your growth, even if it requires difficult changes at first. After all, when you surround yourself with positive people and influences, the impossible begins to seem achievable. When you leave the environment that limits your progress, another challenge arises: the syndrome of excessive consumption. We live in an era of constant stimuli, where we are bombarded by advertisements that promise instant happiness through material goods. But what really happens? We enter a cycle of unbridled consumption and debt, which traps us even more in poverty. How many times have you heard phrases like, "I deserve this," or "I'll pay in 12 installments. After all, the installment amount fits in my budget"? These justifications, although they seem harmless, are the gears of the debt cycle. Society conditions us to value status and appearance, leading us to spend on items that, most of the time, do not add real value to our lives. The problem? Every penny spent on momentary desires could be invested in something that generates wealth in the long term. The 1% know this and, therefore, have a completely different approach. While many buy to impress, they invest to build. They understand that every unnecessary purchase represents a lost opportunity for financial growth. For them, living below their means is not a sacrifice, but a strategy to achieve future freedom and security. Let's look at some practical examples. Suppose a person spends 500 Brazilian reals per month on items such as designer clothes, unnecessary gadgets, or expensive meals out. In 1 year, this is equivalent to 6,000 Brazilian reals. Now imagine this amount invested with compound interest over 5 years. The difference is huge, and this is the mentality that the 1% apply daily. But how can you get out of this cycle? First, reevaluate your priorities. Make a list of monthly expenses and identify those that are truly essential. Then, set clear financial goals, such as creating an emergency fund or starting to invest. Finally, adopt strategies that help you avoid impulse purchases, such as planning purchases in advance or setting waiting periods before purchasing something. It is also important to deconstruct the idea that happiness lies in material goods. It comes from security, freedom, and, above all, a well-defined purpose. Replacing the momentary pleasure of a purchase with the pleasure of achieving your goals is an exercise that, at first, can be challenging, but over time becomes transformative. Remember, the debt cycle is not just financial, it is emotional. By breaking it, you not only improve your financial situation, but you also regain control over your life and decisions. And this is the first step to building a path that leads you to true financial freedom. Understanding the behaviors that lead us to poverty is the first step. But knowing where to go and how to get there is the real game changer. This is where strategic planning comes in, the tool that separates those who achieve their financial goals from those who only dream about them. Imagine your life as a ship on a vast ocean. Without a map, you are at the mercy of the currents and winds, drifting aimlessly. A strategic plan is that map. It not only points you in the direction you need to go, but also details the steps you need to take to get there. In the financial context, this means creating clear goals, setting deadlines, and defining practical actions that will take you from where you are now to where you want to be. The first step is to assess where you are right now. What is your current income? How much do you spend? And most importantly, where are the gaps in your budget? Without a clear view of where you are starting, any plan is doomed to failure. Make a detailed inventory of your income and expenses. Categorize your expenses and identify those that are non-essential. This may seem simple, but this analysis can reveal patterns you never imagined. The second step is to define your goals. What is your why? Do you want to pay off debt, buy a house, invest in education, or achieve financial independence? Knowing what you want not only motivates you, but also guides your decisions. Break these goals down into short dash, medium dash, and long-term goals. This way, you can turn aspirations into tangible actions. For example, if your goal is to save $50,000 in 5 years to start your own business, break that goal down into smaller chunks. Saving $10,000 per year means saving approximately $833 per month. This approach makes the goal more attainable and less intimidating. The next step is to create a budget. However, unlike a budget that simply records expenses, 1% planning is proactive and strategic. It directs money where it will yield the greatest return. Prioritize savings and investments before allocating resources to discretionary expenses. In other words, pay yourself first. Also, take the time to review and adjust your plan periodically. Life is dynamic, and your strategy should reflect changes in your circumstances or priorities. Financial planning is not static. It is an ongoing process that requires attention and regular adjustments. One of the most powerful tools in this process is visualization. Keep your goals visible, whether through a goal board, a money management app, or even a note on your phone. Each time you visualize your goals, you reinforce your commitment to them and reduce the likelihood of straying. Remember, strategic planning is not just a financial practice, it is a lifestyle habit. It teaches discipline, organization, and focus, skills that go beyond finances and impact every area of your life. This is how you go from being someone who just survives to someone who thrives. The next biggest barrier that keeps most people from escaping poverty is not financial, but emotional, fear of failure and uncertainty about the future. These psychological barriers are often more powerful than any external obstacle. When fear enters the picture, it paralyzes you. It stops you from making bold, risky decisions, and without those decisions, there is no real growth. Fear of failure is arguably one of the greatest enemies of prosperity. It tells us that our failures define who we are. However, people who successfully escape poverty and achieve levels of financial success have learned to view failure differently. They see it as a step in the learning process. Failure is not the end of the journey, but an essential lesson. They fail, they learn, and they keep going. The mindset of successful people is based on the belief that failures are opportunities for growth. Thomas Edison, for example, was famous for his perseverance after countless failures while inventing the light bulb. He said, "I have not failed. I've just discovered 10,000 ways that don't work." He knew that every mistake brought him closer to a solution. For him, fear of failure didn't exist. Failure was simply part of the path to success. Uncertainty is also a major source of paralysis. The fear of not knowing what will happen tomorrow can lead many people to avoid any kind of risk. And as we know, wealth rarely comes without risk. Investing, starting a business, or changing your financial strategy will always involve some level of uncertainty. But the real question is, would you rather stay where you are, in the comfort of your safety zone, or take the risk to create something bigger and more meaningful for your life? When you understand that risk is a normal part of success, it stops being scary. Instead of focusing on what could go wrong, shift your focus to what could go right. Success is rarely linear. It's built on small victories and a series of trials and adjustments. Those who rise from poverty have the courage to take action even when they don't have all the answers. They understand that uncertainty is part of the journey. For example, many people stop investing because they are afraid of losing money. But those who never invest never learn how to deal with risk intelligently. The secret is not to avoid risk, but to learn how to manage it. Therefore, those who take risks with knowledge and planning always have an advantage. The best way to combat fear and uncertainty is to act with purpose. The planning we discussed in the previous chapter is a way to create a map to navigate more safely through the turbulent waters of risk and uncertainty. So, instead of seeing fear and uncertainty as obstacles, start seeing them as allies. They are signs that you are on the right path, trying something new, leaving your comfort zone, and most importantly, getting closer to what you want to achieve. Fear is only capable of paralyzing those who do not have a clear plan of action. With strategic planning, fear loses its power. Now that we have reached the end of the video, leave your comment and subscribe to the channel to continue learning with us. See you soon.